Today is May 24th. Welcome on into Daily Cards Live, brought to you by Munganast, St. Louis Acura, and Royal Banks of Missouri. I'm Joe Roderick, joined alongside by Bob Ramsey. And Rammer, it's been a tough few days for us to get on the air and talk about the red-hot Cardinals, one of the right now, I mean, over the last 10 games, 8-2, playing some of the best baseball in all of the major leagues. And we haven't actually done a show since they completed the sweep of the Orioles, something that has not been done in Adley Rutschman's entire major league career.
Yeah, how about that? And, you know, they're winning games, and I'm not trying to be a downer because they have been playing better. The offense has clicked more often than not. The bullpen, which we've been singing the praises of the bullpen since the season began, it was a focus of the front office. And that focus has paid off. There's no doubt about those things. It is interesting, though, that, 8 or 9 straight games with an error, which you wouldn't think that would coincide with winning 8 of 10. But it has. And I think a couple of those errors, it was just I don't think it's an indicator that this is a bad defensive team. Just some, like the Arenado game where he only got charged with 1 error, but he botched another one. You got a game where Mason Wynn has a couple of errors, and everybody can see this kid is a terrific defender. So it is interesting, though, that and I bring this up not to denigrate how the wins, but to say I think there's still another level they can get to.
Yeah, I believe the streak that they're on right now of 9 straight games with an error, I believe I saw first time since 2002 that they have had a streak of such length, which it's surprising that for as highly touted of a defense as they have this year, that it's been 22 years since then, knowing that there was a time a few years ago where defense was really, really bad for the Cardinals, and they had an entire kind of culture shift to focus on getting better defensively and get back to a point that was acceptable for the Cardinals organization. So to know that they're on that streak right now it's a little surprising, and hopefully one that they break tonight. But as you mentioned, something that's not costing them wins at the moment. So good for that. Cubs are in town this weekend, and it's going to be a fun one down at Busch Stadium tonight. It is the debut of the City Connect jerseys, Rammer. I know that you have yours on back order, that you are really excited to get that and show it off all around town. Your custom-made Mike Ramsey Cardinals jersey, correct? City Connect?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. Yeah, exactly right.
But also tonight, Rammer, usually here on this show, we push you towards listening to Claibs on the Cardinal radio broadcast. Tonight, I believe this is the first Friday night Cardinal game this season that I have not attended in one way, either as media or a fan, Rammer, and that's because I want to sit home and I want to watch the game on Bally tonight and listen to Chip Caray and Joe Buck on the call. It's going to be it should be a lot of fun listening to a Chip or to a Caray Buck call on the broadcast.
Two great guys. Chip grew up in St. Louis and is a big Cardinal fan his whole life. Now, of course, back in St. Louis for his second season. Joe, everyone knows Joe's story. And I just think it's because they're both so good at what they do. That's one level. But then when you go next level, when you think, and I know a lot of you folks weren't around, and you either believe me and take my word for it or you don't. But I can't think of, and I personally haven't heard of, another tandem better than Harry and Jack when they were working together in the 50s and 60s. But by the time the 60s rolled around and I was listening to games on the radio as a kid, I didn't realize that that every team didn't have that kind of talent. And their styles were different, but they were able to make it mesh. And then, all these years later, to have a son and a grandson together doing games, I just think it's a kind of a cool full circle deal.
I think, and to your point, the regular broadcast teams that we have here in St. Louis on the Cardinal broadcast, I think if you do venture out and you listen to other broadcasts around the country, I don't think that I don't think people realize just how good St. Louis has had it over the years on both sides of the media compared to what you listen to in some of the other markets. And I mean, it's 2024, Rammer, and there's still a team that's not sending their radio team out on the road. And when you hear the mistakes that are made during that broadcast, it suffers not at the fault of the guys that are doing the game, because they're doing it off a monitor. So there are still teams out there that are struggling to put forth a good broadcast team, and the Cardinals have that. And tonight, you get a nice treat of getting one of the best to ever call any sport in the voice of Monday Night Football right now, just coming back for a one-off with a guy that he's been friends with most of his life, just to, as you mentioned, relive the glory that their grandfather and dad once had for this Cardinal organization and the Cubs organization too. When you look at their impact and Chip also. And his dad with the Cubs too. I mean, it's the Caray name in Chicago Cubs history is a big one as well. So this is what you call it for.
Yeah, and Joe and Chip are really fun guys, and I know they'll have a good time, and it will make the whole thing enjoyable. I'm looking forward to it.
The lineups that they will be calling for tonight's game will look like this. I'm going to start with the Cubs first off, because we also, this is another thing. I mean, we already mentioned the City Connect jerseys in the broadcast. Cardinal fans are also going to get to see Shoto Imanaga for the first time. Yeah. You know what? He could shove it tonight on the Cardinals, and I wouldn't be that upset, because what we're seeing so far out of his season, he's a rookie sensation. 5-0 with a 0.84 ERA so far on the year. We are almost at the end of May, and his ERA is still under 1. Mike Tauchman leads off for the Cubs playing left. Seiya Suzuki is in right. Cody Bellinger, the former MVP, is in center. Christopher Morel DHs tonight. Nico Horner at second. Michael Busch at first. Dansby Swanson at short. Patrick Wisdom, former Cardinal, is at third. And Miguel Amaya is behind the plate for the Cubs, 27-24 on the year. Cardinals will start with Miles Michaelis tonight, and they will lead off with Mason Wynn. He's at short. Lars Nootbaar is in right. Paul Goldschmidt at first. Nolan Arenado at third. Ivan Herrera is catching. Alec Burleson DHing. Brendan Donovan is in the lineup. He's playing left and batting seventh. Nolan Gorman batting eighth at second. And Michael Ciani is in center field. So what this is telling us, based off of what we saw, what was it, last week, Rammer, when you and I kind of talked about it, well, against the Angels, when we talked about it with Benji before the show and kind of predicted that we would see Mason Wynn getting a leadoff opportunity against a lefty. Here you go. Tough lefty on the mound. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I was chastised by you going back, was it early April or was it even before that this guy was going to lead off? And you said, if I recall, and I think we bet a lot of money on it, hundreds of dollars maybe. He's going to hit 9 all year is what I think you said.
There is nothing about this show that has ever had where the conversation of a lot of money has ever been brought up, unless it was a contract extension of somebody we were talking about.
Okay, my mistake. Okay, that's on me. That part's on me. Okay.
But Mason Wynn, I did think that he was going to be batting 8th, 9th in this lineup all year, and he has definitely earned himself a spot much further up the lineup and in a leadoff role like he has tonight. And it looks like this might be a trend for the season against a good lefty.
Yeah, and if he and Donovan, and I think everything. Well, let me start over. Nothing in stone. Because the game changes every day. Players get hot, players cool off, players get hurt. But for the near term, I think Donovan against righties, Wynn against lefties, and I think it makes sense.
I would agree with that. If Mason Wynn keeps hitting the way he does, absolutely. This is right now. We have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lefties in the lineup tonight. for the Cardinals.
And what's unusual about it is the bottom four are all left-handed. So Imanaga, if I mean, it depends on how much you believe in the lefty-righty splits. He ought to breeze through the bottom of the order. I think it's a really interesting lineup. And the guy who's missing, and maybe I missed out on an injury, is Carlson.
It looks like he has just found and at some point you would almost suggest that they need to start playing him just to get him some value in a trade.
I thought for sure he'd be hitting, at least be in the batting order, and maybe ninth, okay with me, but because he hits from the right side best. Yeah, I'm shocked by it. Now, maybe we'll find out later he tweaked something, he's not feeling good. So I don't want to make too big a deal out of it, but it was his absence. He was conspicuous by his absence tonight.
Yeah, I am. I'm looking at. Yeah, I'm trying to find any kind of notes on Dylan Carlson, but it has been. I mean, he got a few at bats on, what was it, Tuesday night, and that's because Lars got ejected after the first at bat of the game. But Michael Ciani has been hitting the ball well and has been earning his spots again and again, and it just seems like Dylan Carlson getting hurt, coming back, having the slow start. Jordan Walker is down there in AAA, and if Jordan Walker's your future, you can't keep him down in AAA all season. At some point, Jordan Walker is going to get called back up, and at that point, it really feels like Dylan Carlson might be getting traded out of the organization.
I agree with those points. The only concern would be who does Ollie put in center field? If Walker comes up,
I think Ciani out there, you put Nootbaar in left, Walker in right, and you find somewhere to shift Donovan around every day.
Yeah, but my point is it becomes a little more complicated.
Right. And I mean, not even that. I don't know where we stand with Tommy Edman right now, too, but Tommy Edman at some point is also going to be coming back. So that's another name to watch and kind of figure out where he's going to fall into the mix.
You broke up for a second, Joe. I missed that.
I was just saying, not only are we talking about calling Jordan Walker up and figuring out a roster spot there, but Tommy Edman at some point is going to get healthy. You would imagine.
You know what? That's probably the answer. I think they leave Walker for a while. If Carlson's fate is as you suggest, and I think you might be right. I forgot about Tommy Edman. He's the guy. He's your center fielder.
I think Edman comes back. I think Ciani goes down. I think that would be
because he can play center field.
Yeah,
and then you decide does Carlson have a value as a fifth outfielder and never playing? Do you go to Walker and change some of those things around? So I forgot about Edman. You're right about that.
Yeah, and then if we're going to go another step too, when's the last time? I can't recall the last time Matt Carpenter got a start either.
Because he quit hitting again.
Yeah, I was going to say for a while they plugged him into the leadoff spot and thought that was going to happen, and now we haven't seen him. So there's if the Cardinals are going to continue on a run like we have seen the last 10 games and start winning series and maybe even a sweep or two here and there, a lot of roster construction is going to need to be made with that bench.
Yeah, and I think, it'll trickle down that way. Will it get to a point where you bring up some of the young guys, the presumptive starters or the guys that did start the season, and push some of the other guys onto the bench? You're probably not going to have guys up from Memphis to sit the bench. None of us think that's a good idea. So who is on the bench and what purpose do they serve will be something to watch for some time.
Around baseball tonight, Rammer, a lot or a few other. I mean, we have the Cubs lefty tonight. I'm sorry, I was looking ahead to lineups for the rest of the week as we go on. By the way, no starter named for tomorrow yet. Cardinals still have not listed who that's going to be. Andre Palante was supposed to start in AAA tonight. He is not.
Yeah, would they go to Palante rather than one of the young arms? We've talked about Libertor's situation ad nauseum. I don't know what they're going to do. And if I were in their spot, I'm not sure what I would do because we don't get the reports and not just the stats, but the reports on some of the young guys and what they're doing and are they ready or not. There seems to be a prevailing theory coming from the organization that some of these young guys are not ready to assume a starting role. So what do you do? It's a problem.
I was going to mention beforehand, looking around the rest of baseball, some other Cy Young candidates. I know it's a little early to talk about that, but looking at some of the other games from around baseball, the forgotten Kansas City Royals, 32-19. They start a series tonight against the Tampa Bay Rays. Seth Lugo on the mound, going for his 8th win already of the season, 7-1 with a 1.90 ERA. Seth Lugo for the Royals already have matched their win total. I think it's through July of last year, past the All-Star break of last year, and we're not even at the end of May.
Well, Perez is having the best year of his career. I mean, nobody can get him out, and Witt in front of him, or at least sometimes 2 spots in front of him. I mean, that's a hell of a tandem.
It is. So that's one to watch tonight. Cardinals and Cubs start tonight at 7:15. Rammer, it's Memorial Day weekend. Anything going on down at the lake baseball-wise?
We are delighted to partner up with Folds of Honor. They'll be a part of what we do at both Ballparks National and Osage Beach City Park. We've got games at both locations. And Folds of Honor will be a part of what we do on this Memorial Day, and we're very proud to work with them.
Awesome. We are brought to you each and every day by Royal Banks of Missouri and also Munganess St. Louis Acura. Find them online at stlouisacura.com. See what 2024s they have in stock and what 2025s are on the way out there at 13720 Manchester Road, out there at Munganess St. Louis Acura. Until the weekend, enjoy all of the Memorial Day weekend baseball. We will talk to you next week. He's Bob Ramsey. I'm Joe Roderick. See you then.
From our roots in St. Louis, Royal Banks of Missouri is branching out to continue serving you with our locations in St. Charles, Jerseyville, Granite City, and now in Hannibal, Center, and New London. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank in your community.